education doesn't equal intelligence.
Absolutely.
That's why I don't brag about it.
That's right.
I know people who don't even read books.
Right.
People talking about all these, and the education's supposed to liberate you, but I'm thinking it's doing the reverse.
Welcome to another Khaos project. We are so excited to be here one more time. I got my bodyguard, Mr. Bear. Actually, I got two bodyguards today, man. I'm not sure which one's going to take care of me first, but I'll tell you what, you guys want to go around. I got one on each side, guys. I'm pumped, man. Bear, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good, man. I'm very thankful and very blessed to be hanging out with you guys. Got a special treat today for you, Chad.
Man, I tell you what, I'm excited about our conversation today.
Absolutely, man.
It's going to be a great conversation. So what are we going to talk about?
Well, we invited Dr. Percy Pain Train.
Pain Train. Woohoo! Oh, yeah.
Today.
Oh, yeah.
So, man, we had some pretty good conversations. I respect the hell out of you, Percy.
Yes, sir.
And, I mean, all the conversations and stories we shared, you know, over the time that, you know, we ran into each other, we worked together.
Yeah.
He scared me when I first saw him.
Did you? Well read.
I'm gonna tell you what.
Well traveled.
Yeah.
So I wanted to capture that experience, man, and of course, you know, talk to you about your military background and what you do now. You know, helping combat vets with PTSD, and maybe some of the things that you recommend. That just everyday ordinary people can do to try to get over some of their anxieties, the different therapies, different modalities that you provide that you can help people out with, man.
Okay. All right.
So,
Wow. He almost sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the best treatment modality for a veteran, and given the years prior to even service from my uncle and my stepfather, was we're all human. We all understand things. Learn how to incorporate certain things in your life. And that means, prospectively, my uncle, when he was in Vietnam, he wrote stuff down. He said it was like hell, pictures. We still have it to this day. Right. He passed away in 93, but he talked about his experience in Vietnam and all the gook and the glory of the stuff that was there. And I saw how, even with that, how it affected him. And this is me being a little boy. Comparatively, when I would tell my stepdad, he was like, "Oh, he ain't do all that." But their mission was different, and they cope with things differently. So you have to know the person, their symptoms, and so forth. From that, we have all these modules, and it's good and dandy, but you don't have to be formally educated to be educated about it, to help somebody else. If that's your friend, you say you have a six, then guess what? You need to be there for them. That's the best thing you could do.
Man, I mean, we've got a lot to talk about in that realm. Chap, you want to get us started?
I'll tell you what, that's a good warm-up. Well, Percy, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and the quick version of how you ended up here.
In Houston, Texas.
There you go.
So this is my third time in Houston. I was born here, Herman Hospital, and my mom left here searching for a better life for us. So we moved to Germany, where my uncle was stationed at, Coleman, and he was married to a German. And her mom, which I call my own mom, which is grandmother in German, helped raise me. And then from there, my mom met my stepfather, which was he was over the NCO club. She used to work for him and so forth from that. Anyway, they got together and we, traveled and stuff like that. Got stationed in California, Kentucky, Georgia. And he retired, and that's the story from that.
So you're back.
I'm back. Well, let me fast forward that. So the second time I came back here to kind of get to know the family on my biological dad's side. And in the meantime, I went to grad school here and met my ex-wife, at Rice. And then I told you a story earlier where the storm and all that, it kind of moved me away. So I ended up moving back to Georgia. And from that, I moved to Florida. And then from there, this last time, the third time, it's a charm, my stepfather passed away in 2000, I think it is, in April 2000. My mom was sick. They both were sick, but my mom was sick. So, and I'm like, she's from here, more support. Yeah. My brother's here. Like 80% of my family's here. So that's what brought me back. And there was nothing holding me. So I decided to come on back here and revisit my family and reconnect and stuff like that.
I love it.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, most of the guys that come on this podcast have some military background. Not everybody, but most of us have some military background. Yes, I understand you have some military background.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So went from high school to Georgia military, went there, was a plebe, got commissioned after the second year, after you graduate, and then you transfer, and then you're in the reserve. And then from there, I got injured. So that was the end of my career, really, from the military. But the experience that I got from that it was hard. Georgia military was hard comparatively to the Citadel, other, VMI. You're on plea period for 6 months to a year.
Wow, I didn't know
that. We didn't have to do basic because everything was there,
right?
And training and so forth from that. So being a plebe,
did you enjoy plebing?
No. It was you talking about hard. It was hard because I'm just like, I think this would have been better just to go to basic.
Yeah.
What sort of stuff they had you do? Like, what was so hard about it? They just screwed with you the whole time?
Whoa. Well, so let me. It's a regiment. So basically, that regiment is you can't leave for like 6 months. So we get up 5 o'clock PT, running 3 miles, coming back. Clean up the barracks. I think I was in Bravo when I first got there. And then you had to have your, everything, gig line and all that stuff straight. The your zipper would have to be, I believe, facing inward, the closet. 2 fingers with the hangers and stuff like that.
Yeah, buddy.
Everything clean. You failed inspection. You couldn't go back to your room, sleep.
Man, that sounds like my life today.
Oh, really?
I still do that stuff.
Yeah. So
my wife is, man, she's tough on me, man.
Yeah. So, my head goes out to you. But we would go and then boom, boom. Then we'd go to class from 8 to like 12 lunchtime. 1:30 was parade practice. Then any other activities after that. After that was child time. After that was from 1800 to 2100 was study hall. Had to have your your door open in your PT uniform. And then couldn't talk in the child hall. Had to stand up, stand up. And then every night somebody come in, they'll mess with us. We asleep, we got to get up at 4 o'clock.
Right.
Some 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Lieutenant on deck, get up. I'm like, are you serious? And that wasn't my thing on going to college. Like, I was just like, wow. So 1 o'clock, and then we got 2 hours to sleep. And then doing that. So we didn't go nowhere. No entertainment back then, no AC, so we had the fans. Now I understand they got some all kind of immaculate stuff off in there. No heat. Oh man! And then had to have your bed made. Had to have your bed made. Couldn't go to sleep. And I remember one time I was in there and I was asleep. The sergeant come through there. He had his, he was from the south. Grafton, wake up! Hello, you know what? Get out of here. And he moved me to Charlie just because I was asleep. Yeah. And but that was a great experience. Some of those guys I talked to this day, a lot of them made the military their career. So it's a remarkable experience. Yeah. It was tough. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, and I'm not gonna include some of the other stuff that was there. But
right.
It was most definitely tough and hard for me to be who I am today, and said, if you made it through that, what else?
Life's easy.
Life is easy.
Yeah.
So even though you got hurt, you don't regret it.
A little bit, and it took some time. It's kind of like, and I look at it comparatively to. It's like, well, I didn't fulfill this, but I went to it,
right?
Because I did want to continue with my career in that area there, but I was still able to do other things for my education. So, and even with, I hear some of the stories now when they're treating veterans, they didn't, some went to combat, some didn't, and you hear the difference in their tone sometimes, and some look down on it, some don't. So, for me, I'm like, where are you at in your life now? Don't let that be your defining who you are. Who are you inside? So, and I had to search deep for a minute because it was two ways. I got hurt, military, and then, football. I was like, I didn't know. So I was like, let me come up with something else. So here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if, I really want us to kind of dig in. I know you're a very educated gentleman. You believe in lifelong learning. And,
yes, sir.
And I think that's really important for our society, especially our men out there. We should all be lifelong learners. I think I'm the oldest one at the table. I know it's hard to tell when y'all look at us. It's kind of hard to tell which is the old guy. Yeah. But I still like learning.
Yeah.
I still take classes. I still study. And I hope I'm hoping I'm able to do that till I leave this earth. But before we move on and kind of change tracks here, what is the greatest life lesson you feel like you've learned you've carried through from the military experience?
Be persistent, be consistent, be a man of your word, duty, honor, respect, period, regardless. I don't care about I think you're successful if you be a man of your word or a woman, either or. But I think that's the most important thing. And you're going to lose some people. And it's a lonely journey with that.
Yeah.
But guess what? You stick to what you believe, and you go from that. So,
yeah.
Sacrifice, a lot of stuff I had to sacrifice.
Right.
So I've learned that, to even go back now, I remember guys in the barracks crying and leaving back then, and crying like late at night. And, how, they did it there was, well, if you quit, then everybody get in formation and you had to walk through that.
Yeah.
And about face. So I was like, wow, I wonder where they're at now. But yeah, so I it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Put it on there, and work through it. It's nothing too tough, especially if you believe in God.
Yeah.
Are you finished? Or you keep it going?
I keep it going. I keep it going. Just period in life. Like, why stop until the wheels fall off? So, like you, I love to learn. I never stop. I'm into all kind of whatever it is, and if it's just, I don't like nobody controlling what I'm thinking. I want to know, and that's the problem I think with the school system. Somewhat, you're learning, but you're being programmed.
You're right.
You're being programmed.
I'm not going to argue with that one. We've talked a little bit about the education system in our country, and it's not where I want it to be, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, we're more caught up in extracurriculars in this country,
right.
And we're beginning to wonder why in the world are our kids falling short, academically. I think part of that problem simply is everything else is more important than the actual education.
Right.
So,
man, I know you're a very educated man. You have a ton of schooling. You've got an MBA.
Yes, sir.
From Rice.
Yes, sir.
So your college degree is in what and where from?
Rice. You talking about the undergrad?
Your undergrad.
Cumberland University.
Bro, when I think about degree, I'm like, look, man, as long as you got an associate's, you're good to go.
Yeah, I got an associate, obviously, from GMC. From Cumberland. And this is what I say about that. Education doesn't equal intelligence.
Absolutely.
That's why I don't brag about it.
That's right.
I know people who don't even read books.
Right.
People talking about all these, and the education's supposed to liberate you, but I'm thinking it's doing the reverse.
Right.
You know, I teach at Florida, and I tell my students this. I said, what you've learned is you're learning things that you're being controlled for you, and you don't know how to think. Instead of, they're telling you A, B, C, D. Instead of openly, they're so used to, well, I can't find this and this. They're looking for the answer instead of learning how to search for it.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem I have, and that's what I mean by, okay, good for you and your PhDs, but guess what? You're uneducated fool to me. Many.
Hey, I know a lot. I know a lot of folks that have a lot of stuff hanging on the wall. But they can't do anything.
Yeah.
They literally can't do anything.
Well, I'm hoping to get some of that knowledge. I don't normally sit in a room with two doctors and have them all to myself.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to try to overcome.
I got my Dremel. Well, I got my Dremel tool outside. We're doctors, so he needs some back surgery. Let's just jump on it, man. Let's just jump right on it. I got my soldering iron, my drill, and my Dremel tool. We can do it. We can fix anything.
MacGyver used duct tape, man.
I got that.
Duct tape.
I got painter's tape too. I'm ready.
In the South, man, it's duct tape and Bondo.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt.
Super glue.
Super glue. Actually, I did actually when I was fighting last year. I put some super glue on my right here.
It works. Yeah. Super glues work.
It bleed everywhere when I got bowed.
and I'd like to get into that too. I mean, you're a doctor that puts his money where his mouth is, right? I mean, you actually fight and train. Like, what's your routine? Because I mean, we had Clay on here, and Clay's pretty jacked. But damn, Percy, you're a big dude, man. We give hugs, know. So I mean, I don't rarely get a hug from a big dude. I'm like, man, I feel so safe.
I know you always say that. I was like, I feel safe too now. You got me.
Oh man, just think how safe I feel.
We got you. But that's important. I like the hugs actually. To me, I just I remember the first time when I worked at it. I came to the PTSD Foundation, and it was hugs every day, and I was like, I'm not used. If it does something for you, you said what else you can do for veteran. That's one of the most important things to do is hug. Hug them. Come here. You ain't got no choice. Come here. Let me hug you. Me hugging you, letting you know that I got your 6. Because you can't see it, and I can't see mine. So that's how I look at it.
There you go.
What is it? How many hugs do you need a day to get, to release oxytocin?
Yeah. I don't know how many, but I mean.
Like 5 to 8 a day?
Right.
I don't know. You ask a different doctor, they'll say different things.
But that's important.
Yeah.
You heard the phrase, some guy's so angry, he needs a hug. You're just angry. Let me give you a hug.
Yeah, I like it. No doubt. No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
So your education, man. Well, your MBA's from Rice.
Yes,
and
sir.
then you got your doctorate from
Walden. Yes, sir.
And that is you have a doctorate in
Psychology. General psych.
And then you're a licensed professional counselor as well in the state of Texas.
Yes,
How does
sir.
Is it just Texas? Is it all 50 states?
Oh no, it was I moved from Florida, so I was licensed there. Then when we decided to move here, I put it in my paperwork and retaken an exam here, and got my license from there, and then I was able to practice. So it's per state requirements. It's not universal, which it should be, but there's an argument with that. But yeah, it's per state. So if I want to practice, and it's not much I have to do differently, just probably take a little test there or read up on the laws that's somewhat there. Then that's it. So
Do you think, like counseling, you said it's individual state?
Yes, sir.
So once upon a time, I was an EMT.
Okay.
Now there's a national registry, national certification. You have to pass that initially, but you can let that go by the wayside.
Okay.
But you can still choose to remain current in your individual states. So I'm still current in the state of Texas, but I let my national registry lapse. I understand that there's something to be said for, an overarching standard for that. Do you feel like there should be an overarching standard for counselors in the country?
I do. So that breaks down into the union, from my understanding. Like social workers is different from psychologists, and psychologists is different from psychiatrists. So the unionization of that is differently. So that's why that is. So it's a national test we all have to take. However,
Okay.
Gotcha.
so I don't get that, and I think it just changed state by state. I don't know exactly because like some of the stuff I can do here, some of the stuff I could do in Florida, I couldn't do here.
Right.
For instance, like involuntarily, Baker Acts and stuff like that. Here is a little bit different in every state, so that's why. And it goes, and I don't know if and I think it's more for us into the voice of that licensure in that state and what they're pinpointing. Because for a while, psychologists didn't want licensed professionals to do a lot of stuff either. They want to have the graps on it. So now that's way. Right. Same thing with the new frontier with therapists. Now you have life coaches. And some people think that they're a therapist, and they're not. I quote, they're not.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I do life coaching.
Yeah.
All right, I promise you, I am not a therapist.
Yes, sir.
No, sir. Don't want to be a therapist. Didn't go to therapist school.
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad that there are those who are called to that, because that's a very special, unique talent to be able to sit in a room with individuals who are really hurting.
Yeah.
Emotionally and psychologically in a lot of cases for you guys, and to be able to just kind of work through their life situation. Yes, that's a lot more than just hey man, what'd you think about that decision you made? Do you think you could have done a better job? No, that's life coaching.
Yeah.
You're doing all kinds of therapeutic things.
Yeah, you're dead on. It's different specialties across the board. So it's just not like with PTSD. You got some therapists who do career counseling and just do school stuff, and then you got some that just do neuropsych stuff. Then you got those. When I first got into the industry, I was doing forensic stuff. I worked in the criminal justice system. I worked in. I think I talked about this last time we had spoke. Forensics unit where people were titled NGRI, not guilty by reason of insanity. So there's different types of therapy. Some of it is more written reports, and some of it is more one-on-one. So, and the list goes on. Some of it is just mediation and divorce and stuff like that as well.
Therapists are a unique brand of people. Yeah. Trust me.
Yeah, they need therapy too.
They need therapy too.
Yeah,
it's kind of like us pastors.
Yeah.
Pastors need pastors and therapists need therapists. And sometimes pastors need therapists.
Yeah.
It's been known to happen. And sometimes therapists need pastors.
I got everybody on my corner. I got a team. I got a team of pastors. People call me for, just period. So I keep my team, and I need that. So I know what you're saying.
What do you think, or how do you feel is one of the most challenging or difficult aspects of being a therapist at the level you are?
I think some of it started and I think more so when I was in the prison system, because I worked in the prison, one of the worst, 3% of the population in the state of Florida, and sometimes some of that become isomorphic. Some of that behavior you're hearing screaming and hollering and some very abnormal stuff. I mean, people cutting certain parts that most people won't cut. People dying, getting stabbed. So that energy affects you. So, and one of the things I did like about that crew that we worked at, we all treat each other. There's no talking about work during lunchtime or when we out. That was a rule. And we kind of distance of imagination. When I came here, I was in the bathroom and I saw Yoda in there. We would do stuff like that. Right. Like not even, and sometimes it's just about, are you good? Take a mental health day off. So I made sure I did that. Spend time with my kid, at that time, and so forth from that. And actually fighting.
I can see how a little MMA action might help you out, brother.
Yes, sir. So I was like, boom, I released it and never kept it on me. But it most definitely can affect you. And then that's how you know if this field is for you or not. Everybody's not meant to be a therapist. Just like everybody's not meant to be a pastor. Even though they may go on that, it may not just be for you.
Yeah, I mean, just because you go to school and you get a degree in it, when you actually begin to do that activity,
Yes, sir.
It's different than reading books and writing papers. When you sit down in front of let's say a combat vet, a lot of us, we work with combat vets a lot. You sit down with a combat vet. I'm gonna be honest. There's just not a real school to go to just to focus on this dude that got blown up in combat, and he thinks about it all the time, and it leads down paths, and he can't think, and it's such a unique place, And I'm really glad God has created a heart and an ability for people to do that, like yourself, and the whole team that I've worked with over the years, and just trying to help people.
Yeah,
because different people need different things.
Yeah.
And different things come from different kind of people. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Even Bear's a pretty good little counselor.
Yeah. I get a ride every now and then.
Yeah. That's part of my team. You both are. I love talking to you. I love hugging you. I love just the conversations that we do have, just offline, and dealing with it. I think you need that, So I know I need it. So
absolutely, pick your own tribe, brother.
Yes, sir.
It's not just by circumstances. Yeah. When did you know you were going to be a therapist, man? Like, what brought you down this path? Like, usually kids don't. It's either, man, I want to be a cowboy.
Yeah.
I want to be a fireman.
Yeah.
I want to be G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. When did you know you wanted to be a therapist, man? And what led you down that path?
I think it was unconsciously. So it's intertwined in two things. My uncle that was in Germany, I said I wanted to be a Marine, and he was Army. And he showed me.
Hoorah! Yeah.
He showed me two movies: Deer Hunter, and Full Metal Jacket. That's when it first came out.
Oh Lord!
And then after that, he said, "You still wanted to be?" And I said, "No, I think I want to go in the Army." And then it was that firefighter and a football player. So in a way, life passes and stuff like that. And I think, I forgot, I don't know if it was my sophomore year or junior year in high school, where the principal asked us to, volunteer at the VA. They needed some helpers and stuff like that. So I decided to do that. And my guy was a retired general, and he had cognitive impairment, dementia. And I remember that. And I think that kind of put the spirit in me of going towards that. Then I saw stuff in our community, like the going back to some family members and stuff like that. Because in some cultures, mental health is taboo.
Yeah.
All I need is Jesus. I don't need therapists. And, I was like, I kind of wanted to change that stigma. And I saw it, and like, I remember some homes, there was a guy, he was schizophrenic, and all they would do was knock on his door, leave his tray out there. And I'm just like, eh. And then every once in a while, he'll get into his psychosis and start hallucinating, and they had to send him out. Then he'd come back. And so I think it's little bits and pieces of stuff that was through my life that kind of, from the unconscious, became more conscious, and I put it into work, and it presented as an opportunity to become a therapist. So I would say that part of it, and I was able to flow with it.
Therapist, fighter. Whoa. You either get fixed or I'm knocking you down.
Yeah. You got anger management problems. I got a black eye.
Well, I was with Percy today. Yeah, he had to straighten me out.
Yeah. You're really changed, yes.
Oh Lord, that's funny.
So now you're a therapist.
Yes, sir.
I know there's a lot of different treatments out there, man. I mean, everybody has some level of anxiety. Everybody has some level of depression. And a lot of guys are afraid to talk about their feelings. That's again a lot of what we do is trying to get guys that look like us to talk about their feelings, right? To be open, to be honest, to be vulnerable, and above all, be honest with yourself. But there's a lot of different treatment modalities. So, one, can you talk about some of those different treatments? And then some of the ones that you actually specialize in. I know there's cognitive behavioral therapy. I know there's motivational interviewing. Right. I'm very interested to learn more about that. Yes, sir. I've heard that had some great successes.
Oh, yeah.
So
motivational MIT stuff, that's there. Where they're getting at. So when we're vetting people for the foundation, that's where that comes in at. And then also the level of where they want to be at and change and what's there. What do you have in front of you? I'm not going to give you this. What do you have and what can you think about? For others, they don't know about it. So that's why CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, ACT, DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. It depends on the symptomatics of the individuals that's there. I do shadow work also, which shadow work helps with some of your unconscious things that's there that goes, okay, this is manifested as who I am now, but this probably started well before I even got to the military and so forth from that. It probably started in childhood. Right. Because guess what? You're not talking about it. You're not talking about it. We're not going to sit around and just talk about your feelings. Listen, I don't want to know about your feelings. I want to watch the football game. Be quiet. Right. Let me get my beer. So that's where this stuff continues, and it's, guess what? It's kind of like sitting in your gut, sitting off in there, and you're not meeting that. So we do that: CBT, DBT, MIT, ACT, and then attachment, the attachment style. That's also important. Who are you? How do you see? Not only how do you see the world? How do you understand the world? I can't put who I want on you. I have to know where you're coming from first. And some people just, with their symptoms, some may be elevated more than others with the PTSD. Others, they don't have trauma from combat trauma. Some of them have just childhood trauma and then want to be accepted. And also, a lot of them have issues with their wives. And I think that's the component of having a spiritual side of yourself, of saying, why did you marry her in the first place? Do you know what you needed out of this woman? I think when I'm talking to veterans, why did you marry her? Did you know what type of woman you was looking for? You think your only duty is just to supply her with a house and money. But what is she doing in your life? Why is she there for you? And have kids. It takes a little bit more than just those, I consider Neanderthal type of behaviors. It's very primitive. It's more, especially as we're transitioning into the new frontier.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a really nice way of putting that, Doc. I'm usually a little more straightforward than that, but I guess probably why I get in trouble.
Don't get it wrong. I want to get it wrong. But I mean, and let me go back. So, and what I mean is talk about your feelings, Bear. Talk about your feelings. But this whole time throughout my life, I wasn't allowed to, particularly in the military. Right. I don't, because guess what happens? You already know what happens. I don't need to go there. And then all of a sudden, this woman is saying, I need you to talk about, be more emotionally, be connected with me. So how do you get out of that? So some of that is that type of therapy too. And that's not just in the books. That's just trial and error, knowing through my situations, your situations.
That's real life.
Right.
That's just
right. Why is she here? Why are you doing what you're doing? And I mean, you see that comparatively, drugs and the relationships. It's a big issue.
I try to teach my kids that it's okay to be vulnerable, that it's okay to cry. And even then, the older I get, and I've even talked to some guys that look like us, man. Be sitting there and an SPCA commercial will come on, and you try to look away, little teardrops. Yeah. You're like, she didn't see me. I got something in my eye.
Oh gosh, that sand, man! I got that sand.
You start getting emotional.
Yeah.
But I've taught my kids it's okay to show emotion,
Yeah.
as long as it's constructive,
Yeah.
and not destructive.
Right.
You know, what's that? Hurt people.
Yeah.
You know, no man's an island. Everybody needs a little bit of help every now and then. And Chap will tell you, I don't like asking for it. I do not like asking for it. I want to be the one helping people.
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess in therapy or DSM-5, they may call that shit a savior complex.
Yeah.
I just want to be the hero.
You know, everybody's got a complex, man. Everybody's got an issue.
Yeah, but that's what that unconscious thing, and that's important to do that, because you be sitting around and you be like, when you sit around and nobody's there and then something comes on or something hits you, that's what that is. That feeling, and then like, oh, I can be vulnerable by myself instead of in front of people and know how to evoke that feeling out naturally. That's what therapy is also about. Some people just don't want to feel that. It's bad.
Right.
It's bad for some people. And if I'm going to feel bad, then guess what? Everybody else is too.
Out of the types of therapies that you named, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing, some of the other things that I can't say or pronounce very well, dialectical,
Behavior, DBT.
That stuff. What is the most? I know context matters. I know every situation is not the same.
Yes, sir.
You have to treat every situation individually and make the best judgment. What do you use the most, and what do you see the highest success rate coming from?
To be truthfully, so certain certain therapy modalities is good, like in the school system, and restrictive areas, like DBT, because I'm controlling the situation, the scenario. All right, you're not able to have certain things anyway. Even at the foundation, you can't do things like that. But it's that's controlling the behavior, but that's not really understanding why that behavior is there. So the best one is knowing about your personality. For me, psychodynamic is the best one. Sometimes you can stop a behavior because of the environment. But what is that? That's telling you. It's just no different from if you remember going back to school, you kind of know what to expect every day. It's called like unconditioned response, unconditioned stimulus. You know, every time I got so many A's, guess what? Your mom gives you something. Right? But what happens when you remove that? You're still going to expect something. But that's eliciting a behavior, you know, and that's not fixing what's internally that's going on with the person that's there. So I think there has to be a mixture of that in that particular person. The best success rate is the one that the person is able to go through. Actually, a client said this, and I'm going to use it. All treatment programs work. It's just the one you want it to work. All of them work.
Yeah. Circumstantial.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
But I will say this: at least we have a platform in America that allows that, facilities that allows that to go get help from veterans. They just need to know where's that's there. It's okay to check yourself in. That doesn't mean you're a failure. I've had one. I remember he was a veteran. This was NAS Jacksonville, and I was coming into work, and he said, well, why you got your head down? I got to be back in this place. And I told him one thing. I said, listen, if you had a heart attack, where would you go? To the hospital. Use this. It's the same thing as the hospital. It's okay. I don't care what other people say. You have the right to come here. We pay for this stuff. So my message to any veteran or anybody, if you go get help, take your butt to the hospital, period. Go seek treatment.
Yeah, if we get caught up in our social angsts, I call them.
Yes, sir.
Then we miss out on part of life. Yeah. And if life is an expression, and all the expressions that we get to experience in life, you know, when the stuff you get to do in your life, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Traveling and beating people up and getting beat up, and which I still don't understand. You definitely need a psychologist. But
Yeah.
But then at the same time, just caring enough about other people to be, what I like to say, the gentle giant.
Yeah.
You know, and because they do matter, and everybody matters, even the bad people matter, and if we can help them, I think we should.
Yes, sir.
And so that, to me, there's this love-hate relationship with helping hurting people. Yeah. But I think it's great, and I'm glad you're doing it, and we're grateful for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let me ask you a question going down this therapy rabbit hole.
Yes, sir.
What about other types of therapy that aren't very mainstream? There's been a lot of success with psychedelics.
Yeah. Mushrooms and all that.
I guess drug-induced
Yes, sir.
therapies.
Right.
I guess would be the appropriate terminology.
Right.
Whether it be ayahuasca, psilocybin. I think ketamine therapy. I think the VA is experiencing success with that. What's your opinion on those, man? Do you have any experience with that?
I think they're all useful. Like even if I would say, even pseudopsychology is a place. But so it's two types of things when we look at therapy. Is it scientific based? We have to look at it like that. Mm-hmm. And then regardless of whatever I have to do, I have to give a person a diagnosis. It's just not really kind of getting, I want to get to know the person, but the medical model makes me give a person a diagnosis, and it's almost a checklist that's there. And it's not including the underlying issues and so much off. It's just presenting. Somebody can just easily lie. So you're asking me to do something that's really unknown, but the way the system is I have to give a diagnosis at a certain time. And then a treatment plan. Then they got so many times to be treated. I think for some, and I tell even veterans, whoever, some, I'll say you'll need treatment the rest of your life, period. But those treatments can include the alternative psychedelics and the other alternatives far as into that. And the insurance may have not approved that. That's the only thing. I don't see nothing wrong with that. Always consult your doctor. And so forth from that. But I am, even when we talk about other alternatives to psychology, and the field of psychology has made a turn since the last century from being just behavior to more cognitive than anything else. So from the symptomatic things, I know some people who have taken, it was a big experiment, who's taken LSD and helps with their migraines, but that's not universal for everybody.
Right.
You see, so that's when we're talking about science. So it's not scientific based. That doesn't mean, it's just like saying, well, is faith scientific based?
All treatment works.
Right. Is faith scientific based?
No.
But I believe you need it.
Right.
But actually you have it regardless if you want it or not. It's born in you. To me.
Right.
You believe in something.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody worships and everybody has faith.
Right.
What they worship and what they have faith in may be different.
Right. So there you go.
Right.
So, and is it pseudo? Is it dark psychology? Is what so forth from that? That may work for them, and that may be a case study. For others, they may need, and that's why I don't put one therapy treatment over the other, because they all been useful. But it's more about the rapport and the connection. Because I could say, oh, well, this person doesn't know this, but that connection with them, that's what they have,
You keep mentioning pseudopsychology, and I think you even said dark psychology. Yeah. What are you referring to?
That is not proven. So, for instance, rocks and, and I may get in trouble. Well, it's not. I mean, it is pseudo. Rocks and earthly things and stuff like that, that's pseudo-psychology. Even the chiropractor.
Man, I love my chiropractor.
but it's still pseudoscience. Pseudo, it's not what, it's not universally law as far as into that. That's there.
Bro, I went and got acupuncture.
Yeah.
I struggle with a lot of pain, just like a lot of old veterans do. You beat your body. I I know you beat the hell out of your body. If you don't, somebody else will do it for you.
It helps me sleep.
Hey, man, it's therapeutic. So I went and got acupuncture, man. I've always wanted to try it, man. And I'm like, man, these guys have figured this stuff out.
Yeah.
This has been around for thousands of years.
Thousands of years, right?
They might be onto something.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you talked about how restrictive you have to give a diagnosis.
Right.
The first time that you see somebody, well, maybe you're not prepared to
Right.
give a diagnosis. Like, is that, you're being boxed in.
Yes, sir.
You're being restricted to only a certain few courses of action.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, I kind of feel like that's an injustice.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody fits. Their dog could have just died, man.
Yeah.
They could have been sad.
You're going to be sad, right?
So now you're depressed.
Right.
You have PTSD because there's so
Right.
many different symptoms
Good
of
example.
PTSD
Good example.
or clinical depression.
Right.
And that's, man, I've always hated the DSM-5.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that we're one of the only two countries that allow pharmaceuticals to be advertised on TV.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man. I mean, it's not about the cure; it's about the treatments.
You headed dead on, and it's just like they're selling a point. You know, back in the day, being a man was smoking Marlboro cigarettes. Now it's bad. Now, if you want your mental health treatment, you take this pill. But it ain't telling about all the other side effects. Right. You don't know what other underlying issues that person has that's there. So that is the issue with the DSM started with, 2 or 3 diagnoses, and then it changed. Even homosexuality was in there. And it took them 30, 40 years to get that out. And they already knew that it would, so just like, when we talk about the new frontier gender-wise, some of that was in there. Civil rivaling was there. One of Alan Francis, he came out with a book called Saving Normal. And everything is not normal now. Everything is abnormal. And we can diagnose it now. And that's what we have to use that model. That's supposed to be the standard of so-called care. So, yeah, I do agree with you that there's alternatives. It's a case-by-case study. And guess what? We do need it. You have to talk about it. You have to see what works out there as well. And you have to be motivated. Just don't take me or your psychiatrist or your psychologist or whoever to die. Take other routes that's their treatment. That's best for us into that.
You got me on this train of thought. What abnormal, normal, and all that?
Yes, sir.
If everything that used to be abnormal is now normal, then what is normal in the midst of abnormity? And how do we identify normal in a society that lives in the abnormal? Because there's more abnormal than there is normal, but we don't know what normal is because abnormal has now been defined as normal. So how do you do that?
Yeah. There's the appearance of abnormal. I'm throwing around shit. Abnormalcy.
Yeah.
Right. There's the appearance.
Yeah.
We had talked about possibly doing a show on actual statistics. You can do anything with numbers.
You can. Yeah.
Man, I mean, look at what it's done for Ukraine. But anyway, you can do anything with numbers. You are being exposed to different things that you wouldn't normally be exposed to previously. And yesteryear, I mean, we're all pretty well traveled. Your time in service was different than my time in service.
Right.
Your military experiences were different. Talked about this before. Guys today, and we are those guys now. I can't believe what's going on with the military. Bro, 20 years ago, guys said the same shit about us. I can't believe how soft they're getting.
Yeah.
Everything has always been screwed up. You read Meditations from Marcus Aurelius, it's a journal. These problems that we're facing now, they've always been problems. They just haven't been in your face.
Right.
You didn't have direct access to them. Now you can tap into what's going on in India, in China.
Too much.
In a foreign country. Right? They got shit to do with you. Nothing.
Yeah.
But you're worried about it.
Yeah, and you got to have therapy.
Yeah.
Then you gotta have So abnormalcy is it's more mainstream because it's politicized. It's publicized.
Yeah, and to piggyback that, so if we look at it, what is abnormal? Okay, and it can be a person from another country, and what they doing. It's okay to hear voices there. Okay, it's okay to do these things, but is it dysfunctional and disturbing their everyday life? That's the issue. I mean, I'm going to tell you the truth. I got people that my personal caseload, my private business, that use drugs, and he has a budget. He's been doing it. He's 80 years old.
But he budgeted.
He has it a budget.
His budget
has not affected no part of his life.
What's wrong with that?
I didn't say nothing, and it's nothing wrong. And I know other people who done one thing. I'll go back to the NGRI place, and that he did a little acid, and he's messed up for life. Little acid. So what is abnormal?
Yeah.
I mean, versus a preacher who says, I hear God's voice and I just saw Jesus walk by me, and that was for you. But when it starts disturbing his everyday life or her everyday life, then there has to be intervention that's there. I mean, and I have so many stories for us into that when it becomes abnormal. Being diagnosed, that's one thing. But how it affects your everyday life is something else differently. You don't be the diagnosed. I'll just say that. You are you. That's just what we have to use as a universal code that we use to translate conversation. And sometimes it's just the umbrella of a diagnose. Right. We all going to be sad. We all going to have this. Guess what? We all Americans, and we all have narcissistic behavior. Because we are individual. I know my rights. Right. So somewhere else, we would be locked. That would be abnormal.
Right. Well, it is. I mean, people are still people. And so what's kind of cool about what we do on the show is we allow people in our conversations to be people. Yes, sir. And we are not judgmental. Yeah. So we talk about everybody. Yeah. And I think that the reason we really wanted to get you on this thing is because you are around so many diverse types of individuals. And we know they're out there, but it's really interesting. How do you function within that dynamic? Because we think that how we live is the best way individually. Ooh. Hey, man, I live the way you're supposed to live. I follow this creed, and I live this way, so it must be the best way.
We thought that in Florida. COVID hit.
Yeah.
We thought that. Oh no, they don't know what else they doing.
It turned out to be one of the best ways.
Yeah.
Florida turned out pretty darn good after that, though.
Yeah.
I don't know how they are now.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that it was. I remember that whole time. So that would be another example of that. So sometimes you got, and that's the greatest thing about this country. We have that right to do that. It's supposed to be, and we have to continue to have that right. Right. And we all should be willing to fight for that. That's just my belief, though.
Right. Well, I believe in freedom. I do believe also, though, there is a time when just because I have the freedom to do things, it kind of stops at the door of I'm encroaching on your freedoms. And so I think there's a fine line and Bear and I talk about, where's that line? We talk about that all the time. I'm free to go kick your stinking dog when it comes in my yard. Yeah. But that doesn't mean I should kick your dog.
Right.
But I have the right to.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But and I think life in America has gotten so bizarre. It's just bizarre.
Oh, so man. Yeah, you talking about diagnose. We can go all day long with the rabbit. You talking about a rabbit hole. I don't think it ever ends. Yeah. Never.
So we're not going to solve the world's problems.
Nope.
But going back to some of the stuff that you experienced and some of the work that you've done, you've worked in the prison system.
Yeah.
Man, we were talking about free will the other day, right? You got these guys and gals. I mean, I guess crazy doesn't discriminate.
Yeah.
We're all a little bit crazy in our own
sir.
right. I think I've been diagnosed with all kinds of shit on the DSM-5. Man, like I was talking to my wife about this last night. I was like, man, I was telling her about you, and I was like, man, we're fixing to have Percy on the podcast, and I wonder what it was like, trying to sit across from a guy that you are diametrically opposed, like any place other in life, just by your appearance would be your damn nemesis.
Right.
You're sitting across, let's say, a white supremacist, and you're trying to help this guy.
Yeah.
Right. You're a good person. You care about him. You care about to the extent that you can, as a medical professional, and as a human being trying to help another human being. Man, I'd like to hear about some of those stories. Like, what is the craziest thing that you've ever come across? Some of these challenges that you faced in the prison system.
One, I remember one guy, and this was, I won't say the prison, but I would do my rounds. You had to do mental health rounds, and I knocked doing my, and I think he got like 60, 70 years. Basically, he's never getting out of prison. So he said, "Hey, how you doing? This is such." And he was like, "Sir, the only thing you can do for me is get me some toilet paper. This is a serial rapist, somebody who should obviously not be out of prison ever." And he said, "But the only thing the officers give me is this freaking Bible." And he was taking the pages from that and wiping his behind. And he would always blow me off. And eventually, 7 months later, he came out and talked about his stuff that he's done and so forth from that, and some of the crime and stuff like that. But we all need that interaction.
Right.
One of the biggest ones was, for me, and it was two, and you probably heard me talk about it. It was a coworker of mine, and he worked in a facility. Therapist also found out that he had killed a boy, like 20-something years, and it was found that the torso was left of the kid, and they went in, did a big investigation, and stuff like that, and it's amazing what DNA could do, and he was at the crime scene and so forth from that, and I don't know exactly how much time he got, but it was a big amount of time. And that was my everyday. Like, I'm talking to you. You found out I killed somebody, such and such, and then along on some other crimes. I can go on. Another guy, they stabbed this one guy 80 times, pulled out the eyeball, squished it. Yeah, right? And looked at like you got cameras. Squished it. Two guys, and there was blood all over them. And I remember the other inmates, they turned their back towards those two guys who attacking that one guy. That one guy had 3 months to go to get out of prison. These two guys, I asked, well, why did you do it? He said he was a piece of... I'm like, wow, you're talking about people who should never be out of prison. But he also indicated that, he was gay in his life and all this stuff. And I said, well, if that was your friend and you saw that, would you help him? If you roles reverse, he said, yeah, but that guy was a piece of crap. Like just completely nothing that was there in that person's eye.
Right.
You know. So I remember we were watching in the prison system that video of them attacking that one inmate, and there was blood all over them, like it was Jerry Springer. Like every day we would revisit. Yeah. So I can go on. I got so many stories. I got so many, like whoa.
Oh man. Well, let's get on to something nice.
That was nice. That was a good one.
I have to ask one more question.
Yes, sir.
One more question. Here we go.
Right.
This is the one we've been saving up for this question.
When do you determine that a person is beyond help? Like, when do you determine that that person is just evil?
Or do you?
Or do you?
I don't think I can determine if a person. I believe most people can be really rehabilitated. I think, and there's more people that's sociopathic that's out there that's not locked up, that are locked up. So that's not for me to determine if somebody. I couldn't even say that person, and I can tell you some horrific stuff that guys have done,
right,
and women, in this world, and you'd be like, whoa, and that person that they done it to, there was no free will, there was no mercy, and some people are ill, and they should always be confined. Some people should always be confined, and should always have treatment. I can't say that, but to label it as that person's evil and the point of return, God can probably determine that way better than I can.
So I'm glad you said that. Yeah. Jeff, I'm going to ask you the same question. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit, but from a faith perspective, when do you determine that a person, and we have a lot of these conversations, like I'm talking about pure evil, like this is a Halloween Michael Myers type situation, you know, I mean, we all have different definitions of what love is, of what hate is, of what true evil is. Yeah. But I mean, hurting somebody or hurting the innocent just out of enjoyment, just for the sake of enjoyment. What do we call those people? Percy, psychopaths.
Yes, sir.
They exhibit no emotions. As a faith-based, as a man of faith, staunch faith, when do you determine that a person's beyond reach?
I don't know that I make a determination in the work that I do in the spiritual realm of life. I will say that I definitely couch how I talk and how I interact with individuals, and if I feel like they're not a safe individual to be around, then I limit my activity level with that person. That doesn't mean I don't start. I continue to pray for them. I continue to try to point them to people who can help them. I never just say God can't use you or God can't fix you. I'm a firm believer. I'm the guy that I'm 100% in belief that true psychological repair comes at a spiritual level. We can do all the DBT, CBT, ACT, all those ABCs of therapy. We can do all that stuff. Sir, and at the end, but at the end of the day, in my life experience, it's a spiritual component that really makes a lifelong adjustment or change. Right. All right, and so. Hey, I'm going to tell you, there are examples in Scripture where these guys are just filled with demons, and those are the terms. Yeah. Okay, there's this one story. You know, I am Legion. My name is Legion. There's 1,000 things within me that keep me from being me. And the person at the moment, empowered by a loving, true God, and empowered with the authority over the spirits, said, "Get out of here!" And they jumped into all these pigs, and you know. And so I'm never going to limit the power of an all-loving, all-powerful Creator God. I will say that you have to be open to it. But like we said earlier, when we began this thing, everyone's spiritual.
Right.
Everybody worships. My goal as a pastor is to try and be available to help you focus on the most productive way to worship and the most productive way to experience spirituality. I definitely have the direction that I believe we should go. But I don't force people to go the direction I go. I do expose. I try my best to. I use exposure therapy. Okay? In the church, I use a lot of exposure therapy. I expose people to the love of God and the hope of the Spirit. That's what I do. And some like my therapy, and some don't. Just like some will come to 2 or 3 sessions and say, "This dude crazy," and they won't come back. So it's just same in church life. People come to church and we preach the truth of the Bible, Some people will accept it. Some people will don't. I do my best not to be the judge. That is not my job.
Yeah.
I am a messenger.
Right.
Tupac said it best, man. Only God can judge me.
Only God.
And he will.
I use that as, for me, can nobody ever say in my life that even the guys that's never getting out of prison, those who wanted or have been executed, I treat them any different from my students or anybody here on this panel. So, because I don't know, something can turn around, they get out, and they may be there to help my daughter or help you or help me. So I've never treated none of them differently. Now, those who I don't like, I recognize that, and I need you to move on to somebody else. But that's just my thing with that. So I've never treated nobody differently or tried to consciously. If I have, I probably, please forgive me. But,
Well, I'll tell you that I know we're out of time, but I think it is so important. The three of us, here's what I do know about the three of us. We all have different backgrounds. We really do. But at the end of the day, we have some commonality. We care about other people. We really do. We do. Now we care about them and we care for them in different ways.
yes, sir.
But the three of us, I know because I know my bodyguard well, and I know my other bodyguard. And this is great, man. I can't help it. Don't know you as well, but I've worked with you a little bit, and I watch how you handle people, and there's no doubt in my mind, you guys literally care about other humans and people in society that aren't exactly like us, but you care, and we need that in America more. We need people who care about other people. Less hate, more love.
I like that.
And I'm done. Thank you.
So we will be back here shortly for part 2.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks so much for being here, Percy.
Love it.
All right, everybody. This is Billy Graff with the Khaos Project. See you next time.